Hey friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to the show. I'm very annoyed right now, so fair warning. That flight footage was a 5-inch rig at 945 grams. I've just put a huge battery on it, and it's funny to watch that. I'm angry because everything works totally. Just don't live stream. If you were thinking like, you know, that Ciotti guy, he live streams, I can maybe do that. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. If you value your sanity in any way, shape, or form, do not live stream. For the love of God, do not live stream. Nothing ever works, and there's no way to fix it, and there's no way to make it more reliable. Nothing just works. Nothing works ever. I turned everything on. So about 15 minutes before the stream, I turn everything on and make sure that it's working. You know, when I'm done streaming, I hit the stop button, and then I hit the end stream button, and that's it. Sometimes I don't even use the computer for the next couple days. And then I come back to the computer, and at least once or twice a month, nothing works. The camera doesn't work, the audio doesn't work, the program that I have to run to get the audio into the stream from the desktop doesn't work. It's just total random. There's a little randomization program apparently that runs inside the computer, and it just picks one thing to just have stop working for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I don't put the computer to sleep. I don't shut the computer down. Nothing. And today, most commonly, it's the Canon software, EOS Webcam Utility Pro. Yeah, just didn't work at all. Went through all of the same steps, and it's been like this the entire 3 years. I've talked to many other live streamers. They all say the exact same thing. I have a very specific set of steps that I have figured out over the last 3+ years of doing this to try to fix the problem. Usually those steps work. Today they didn't. I don't know. And yeah, I don't even know what I did to get it to work. I just kept going through the steps over and over and over again, and I don't even know. I was so angry. I was just doing all kinds of random shit. So yeah, if you're wondering why I was getting angry in the chat at the 14 people that were telling me to restart the computer and do all this random shit, that's why. Because this is incredibly frustrating. And then, you know, none of you guys are live streamers, like, no offense, but you're not live streamers. You don't have my exact computer. You don't have this exact setup of software and processes that's required to get this to work. So your suggestions don't accomplish anything other than to piss me off. It shouldn't piss me off, but I'm a human being and I'm imperfect. And so, yeah. If people want help, in most cases they will ask for it. Sometimes they won't. But yeah, try to wait for people to ask for help before offering help, because unfortunately, when somebody doesn't want help because they're doing something that only they understand, it's just kind of frustrating. So yeah, sorry for being a dick in the chat, but it's just I cannot explain to you how frustrating it is that no matter what I do, no matter how many times I've live streamed, there is, and I'm a fairly engineering minded human being, right? Like, I can fix most things, I can work through most things, but this is beyond. It's just beyond logic or reason or anything on earth. And it just makes me want to flip this entire desk upside down and light the whole building on fire. Welcome to the CiottiFPV show. Today we're going to be talking about, I just picked a number, a bunch of Betaflight secrets that will make you fly better. Probably not, but maybe. It might. There's a bunch of stuff that I do in Betaflight that you guys will notice here and there, and you'll shoot me questions and ask me about it. And I'll usually just kind of explain it. But every once in a while, somebody will be like, hey, can you do like a live stream on, and this most recent time, it was your OSD setup. And that's a fucking great idea. Like, there are a whole bunch of things that I have found in Betaflight that nobody talks about, and some of them I've never seen anyone else use, that we talk about here on the live stream, but it gets buried in the middle of the stream. And with the timestamps, like, it's great. It's much easier to find that stuff, but having a thumbnail and a stream title that specifically say, hey, this is clickbait, click here, secrets, 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 you'll be better. Yeah, that's going to be much more effective in putting those things in front of a whole bunch of people. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into Betaflight. I'm going to plug a couple rigs in and show you my OSD setup, explain why I have chosen each field that I have up there. We're going to talk about why I've placed the elements in the locations that I've placed them in. We're going to talk about the OSD on a switch setup that I have. And then we're going to dive into the CLI. We'll talk about crash recovery. We'll touch on Throttle Expo as well. And those are kind of the main things. Within those things, there's going to be a whole bunch of different stuff that we talk about. So there's probably going to be way more than 10 tips. But, you know, clickbait. Pick a small number and every single person will click on it. And then you can be a successful YouTuber and retire at the age of 25. So yeah, there's that. Hold on. In my absolute and utter rage, this camera got all fucked up. Oh god, now it's falling off the back of the desk. Okay, there we go. It doesn't look like it's come out of focus. That's nice. So yeah, forgive me if I'm a little bit annoyed tonight. I'm a human that gets annoyed when things that I've spent a ton of time and effort to try to figure out absolutely refuse to be figured out. I know someone out there can understand that. In the chat, AJ Farrow's first. Well, maybe first. I don't know. The chat got completely wiped out the 18 times that I restarted the computer. FP Avery was next. Kevin Sumner, Sam Cobb, Brandon Woodford, Feigning Goat, Bob Bruce, Safe Zone, FP Avery, Borked Bits, Sam Cobb again, Douglas Otwell, FP Avery, Atomic Rebel, Just Mo, Mick Mucus, Safe Zone, Bob Bruce, Feigning Goat. By the way, I appreciate that you guys want to help. But realistically, yeah, when people want help, they'll ask. Sometimes, not all the times. Bob Bruce, CMYK-FPV, Hector Polonco, Daniel 1964, Thurberg 2500, Off-Axis FPV, Bob Bruce, Freelojo, Kevin the Alien, Justin Waller, Flush FPV, Brandon Woodford, FPV Greybush, the grayest of bushes. Danzilla the Terrible, Kevin Sumner again, Jules FPV, Flush FPV, Brandon Woodford, Traffics AU, Goberg, Troy Prelog, Brandon Woodford, Hendrix Freakazoid, Zach, YouTube just did the thing. No idea where I was. Can I get a channels here? Thread FPV. Matty ORC. Who else do we have here? Frank Dickless is in the house. Thread FPV. Tongue Out FPV. I'm going to leave it there. It's getting harder and harder to sort through the repeats. Thanks for coming, friends. If I missed you this time, come to the next one. I'll get you, for sure. If you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll light up an orange like this. You don't have to put an @ but you can if you'd like. Oops, that's the wrong button. Kevin Sumner says, are you going to explain what FPV has to do with Nintendo tonight? What does that mean? What's that mean? What FPV has to do with Nintendo tonight? Is that a reference to my logo? My logo is actually not Nintendo based at all, believe it or not. It's the font is from... Yeah, never mind. The font's from CMYK-FPV. He's an absolute ninja. McMucus says, happy Wednesday, Whoop lovers. CiottiFPV and all the ships at sea. CMYK says, what's good? Atomic Rebel says, try Master Reset. CMYK dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. That's where you can go to support me on this wild and woolly adventure that is doing FPV as a full-time job. I'm almost completely crowd-funded. That way, when you come here, you get just the honest truth. I don't have some company that's sending me tons of money or stuff to review in order to get favorable reviews. If something sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks. If something's great, I'm going to tell you it's great. Patreon helps me out the most. You can buy yourself some cool stuff on my Etsy store or the Teespring page. You can work one-on-one with me through Fiverr or just message me and we'll schedule it. I'll help you fly better, build better, tune better. I've got over 8 years of experience take advantage of that. If you've been in the hobby for 6 months, after a half an hour one-on-one with me, it'll be as if you've been in the hobby for a year and 6 months. I'll just dump all the really good info on you, answer any questions that you've got, and take you down a path that's going to really help you learn the most important stuff to being successful in FPV, whether you want to just have fun with it or even turn it into a career. I've had a bunch of folks that work with me who want to do this as a full-time job, and I'm able to sit down with them and tell them exactly what's worked and what hasn't worked for me. And you know, I'm very, very honest about that stuff. So if you plan on doing that, don't expect it to be a conversation of like, oh yeah, you can definitely do it. Like it's yeah, I'm going to tell you that it's really difficult, and I'm going to tell you that you get one sub at a time. And you know, I'll explain what has happened in the past when I've had videos that have gotten a little bit bigger and or been on other channels where I've been in front of a ton of people. And yeah, I mean, it's not like you get one break and you're massively successful. You know, the as an example, the times that I've been on with Joshua and like tens of thousands of people have watched it, I've gotten like 10 subscriptions from that, just to give you some idea. So yeah, like just getting one big break, it doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. You've got to do it all yourself. Stuff like that absolutely helps for sure. And subscriptions don't matter. The number of subscribers you have absolutely does not matter in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, it's a metric that is way overused. So yeah, you got to put the time in. You got to work super hard forever, and you got to just keep going. In my experience, some people have had it easier. That's awesome for them. I have not. And I don't know. To me, I've had a more realistic experience rather than some folks who've just hit the lotto, and that's great. That's super cool for them. I'd love that they haven't had to work so hard, but I think the average Joe is going to have to work really, really hard. But luckily, it's really fun work. FPV as a career is wild, and I love it, and I will not give it up unless I absolutely have to. There's also a whole bunch of affiliate links. At this point, if you're buying something on the internet, someone has an affiliate link to that website. See if you can find it really quick before you check out. It's free money. It helps them keep making stuff on YouTube for you to watch for free. So do it. Daniel1964 says, finally, after a month, I received the Betaflight folded cell today. What the hell is that? The Betaflight folded cell? Only flown one seems the same as all. Better off Weebleed or Cinewhoop. Only a $2 or $3 savings to get them faster. So it sounds like it's a folded cell 300 mAh BT 2.0 battery, maybe. But it's Betaflight branded. That's pretty interesting. Tell us more, Daniel1964. I'm intrigued. Although I'm not super intrigued, I'm more just curious what it is. It sounds like it's just the same. There's a whole bunch of there are like 5 or 6 different companies that sell folded cell 300 mAh BT 2.0 batteries. They're all made by Genzace, which is Tattu. They're all the same thing. But I didn't know that Betaflight had their own. That's kind of cool. Freelojo dropping the patreon.com/CiottiFPV link. Thank you, dude. Fainting Goat says all grow shit happens. Brandon Woodford says we still love you. Thank you, dude. Dinzel the Turbo says time to treat yourself to a new camera. Yeah, I mean that really won't help. Like this is a Canon problem. Like I guess technically I could go to a different camera manufacturer, but I've been a Canon guy for like 25 years. So yeah, I don't really want to. This is a thing. This is just a thing with streamers. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's just hard to live stream. It's hard for computers to live stream for some reason. Every single streamer I've talked to has had the exact same story, regardless if they're rich or if they're poor, and if they have high-end gear or low-end gear. It doesn't matter. It's I don't know what it is. Daniel1964 says, when are you working out? We always trust your ability to get it done. Thank you, dude. Daniel also says, and now the star of the show, Ciotti himself. Thank you, dude. Brad Mondin says, just a few more tiny lifter questions. LOL. Fire away, brother, as always. Professor Biohazard says, have you tried any, he said parrot, but I think he means pirate frames, Pirat. I haven't. I've not been all that impressed with their frames. Joshua reviewed a pirate frame 6 months ago or so. Prior to that review, he had asked me, we used to have a weekly phone call to work on his website, and he had asked me about pirate frames, and I'd kind of explained to him that same thing I just said, like I'm not really impressed with them. They have a couple things that, and I wanted a little bit more detail about what I don't really like about them. And then he got his hands, I don't know if he already had one or if he was thinking about grabbing one, and then he grabbed one and he did a review, and he blasted it pretty good. I mean, he yeah, like a lot of the things that I'd talked about and then some, because I never actually bought one. I was just basing it all off of looking at the CAD drawings and the actual images of them. He found even more stuff that was kind of questionable about them. And it might have been one of the reasons that they went and revamped a bunch of their frames. Maybe not, but he's a pretty popular channel, right? And so now they've got like newer versions and or just like a bunch of newer frames over the last couple of months, which is great. Hopefully they fix that stuff. I don't know. I'm pretty deep in the world of FPV cycle glides. Bob Ruge and I have been friends for many, many years. He makes great frames. He takes everybody's feedback into account. And works really hard to, yeah, FPV cycle frames are kind of my bread and butter. I don't really have much of a reason to go elsewhere. I used to recommend the Apex frame, but man, have I heard a lot of stuff over the last 2 or 3 months about the quality control in those frames just going absolutely to hell. And I've seen pictures of those frames being freshly put together, like, because like there's just holes that aren't drilled properly. So I really can't, I really recommend that you not get any of those frames anymore, because it feels like it's all of them at this point. I don't know I don't know. I don't understand it. It's not like it's back in the day, HQ's V1S 4x4.3 propeller, 5x4.3 propeller, started to get really bad, and we all kind of guessed that the mold was getting older, and the mold was basically coming out, like the props were out of balance, so the mold had warped or shifted or something like that. That can't really happen with carbon fiber, though. Carbon fiber is CNC cut, so I don't know, maybe like the machine that they cut them on has come out of calibration or something like that. But yeah, I definitely don't recommend Apex frames anymore. Well, the Apex frame, I should say. Yeah, I don't know. Pirate frames, maybe the new ones are really good. I don't really fly much 5-inch anymore, so it would be, I don't know if realistically I'm going to spend, they're also kind of expensive, so I don't know if I'm gonna really, if I can really justify spending the money and then all the time to do a build in that, and then the time to go out and smash it and break it and fly it and all that. I don't do reviews like other people. Like I don't just take a product and like piece it together and just speak in theoreticals. I beat the hell out of it, because how they perform once you start crashing them is really all I care about. So yeah, for me to test some 5-inch frames, you know, that's taking on like realistically like 40 plus hours of work, because a bunch of work specing it out, building it, getting it up in the air, tuning it, and then crashing and repairing it. So it really adds up to a lot of time. And yeah, I don't know if a lot of people really come here for 5-inch stuff like that, right? Like I've always sort of been the micro guy, so I kind of stick with that. But yeah, and to be honest, the Glide is still, I think, the best frame out there. It's kind of insane, but when you talk about like the best, it has to be like you have to, if you're going to talk about the best, it has to be like everything. It can't just be like, it can't just be like an AOS frame where it's the best in terms of vibration isolation. It can't be like the Apex frame, which is the best in terms of, you know, flying something that your favorite pilot flies, right? It has to be like everything. It has to be the most serviceable. It has to be all the things all together. And I think, yeah, I've tried a lot of frames, and the Glide is the one that checks as many boxes as possible. And it's really inexpensive. And so, yeah, I still think it's kind of the best one out there. There are frames that do like one thing better, another thing better. There are frames that do one thing way better, but then they do a bunch of other things nowhere near as good. So, yeah. Also, frame design has, it kind of hit the brick wall in terms of development a bunch of years ago, which makes sense. You know, 5-inch rigs got a huge R&D development cycle via them being so popular for the last like 10 years. So it makes a lot of sense that at some point all of the big gains that were found in frame design kind of dried up. And so yeah, ever since, and the Glide was like right at that point. Ever since the Glide, it's like, you know, hey, 6mm arms instead of 5mm arms. It's the best frame ever. Oh my God, it's revolutionary. Holy shit. Like, no, the 6mm arms are just not going to break. And then the motors are going to break. So yeah, it's interesting to see every single frame that comes out be the best frame ever. When in reality, like, you look at it and you're like, no, this is worse. It's hard, man. It's really, really, really difficult to make, to continue to iterate and to continue to improve something that had hundreds of thousands of hours devoted to R&D over a number of years. And, you know, again, we've figured out all of those big improvements that could be made. So, yeah. NeoFlyer says hi. Zach says, what is your intro song you use to these live streams? Tried to Shazam it and no result. It was just a guy on Instagram. It was a local guy, actually, on Instagram that I messaged. I was like, yo, your beats are awesome, man. Like, what do you, how much do you charge for them? I'd like to use one or two of them for my live streams. And he was like, oh man, I haven't made those beats in like 3 years. I've moved on to other things. He's like, what's your email address? I'll just send them to you. And he just sent me a folder of a bunch of beats that he created. And oddly enough, I didn't choose it because of this, but my favorite, he sent me like 25, 30 of them. My favorite one, very strangely, is named Atlanta. And yeah, so that's the one. I don't even remember the guy's name, and I don't even know how I would find him on Instagram because I haven't talked to him in years. But yeah, it's just some random dude, just some random little beat that I thought was awesome, and I still do, amazingly. Like, you know, when you've listened to something hundreds of times, usually you start to hate it. But for whatever reason, yeah, I don't hate it. Wild. Brad Mondin says, shit, forgot. Turns out the naked thumb is only 4.5 grams. How would that change your build? 1S. Still 14,000 kV. Just thinking about zip tying it to a Mobula 6 canopy for now. Maybe even get away with using Mobula 6. Brad, zip tying it to the canopy is a great idea. Absolutely do that, and do it on a bunch of different rigs. Because the decision, like, it's on you. When you start talking about like picking up a relatively heavy payload, it becomes like you really have to decide, do you want this rig to be absolutely as light as possible and just barely be able to pick this damn thing up? Or do you want it to be more like a freestyle rig where it can easily move that thing around? It depends on your taste, how you're going to fly it, what you're going to do with it. So yeah, and with picking up payloads on Cinewhoops, like, not many of us have done it. So there's not like a formula like there is for 5-inch. So yeah, absolutely zip tie that thing to the top. Unfortunately, we can't zip tie the Insta360 because the whole front of it is the button. So if you were to zip tie it, it would hold the button down. But the RunCam Thumb Pro, I believe, is what you're using. It's not like that. There's just a button on it. So yeah, zip tie it and then fly it around and see what you like. Be realistic. Like if you're gonna fly it like a Cinewhoop, realize that it doesn't need to be super powerful, and then you can also take a look at like run times, right? You're gonna expect a different runtime than me. I'm okay with like 2 minutes in some cases. In other cases, I want like 4 or 5 minutes. That's a very personal thing. So yeah, that's a great idea, man. Zip tie it, see how the flight performance differs between each one, and that'll allow you to kind of dial in on exactly what you want. Because yeah, it is totally different for each one of us, and that's a good thing, right? Like that's the specific reason that we're all here, custom building rigs. If that was not the case, we would all just buy bind and flies, and just be good to go. So Bob Bruce says, at least you let us know. Fan and Goat says hugs. Thanks, guys. I just moved the window by accident. Come on, here we go. Okay, YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up to try to find my place. Nope, that's not where I was. Jesus, come on. YouTube, get your shit together. Matterhorn says, greetings from somewhere over Texas, I think. Matterhorn is on an aeroplane. Kevin Sumner says, do you not know how FPV is related to the Wii? Ah, right. Early days of FPV, for those of you that aren't OGs, early days of FPV, in order to get a gyro, I'm sure gyros were out there. I don't actually know why it was done this way. I have to assume that we could buy the gyros. Maybe there was something about the Wiimote that maybe not. I don't know. In the early days of FPV, people would buy a Nintendo Wiimote from the Nintendo Wii, you know, the little handheld bastards, take it apart and take the gyro out of the inside of that and use that gyro on custom PDBs to make flight controllers. There were not flight controllers available, so these lunatics were making flight controllers with the gyros out of Wiimotes. I wasn't around back then, thank God, but yeah, a couple of years before I got into FPV, that's how that was the best way to build a quad. Mind-blowing. So that's the connection between FPV and Nintendo. I forgot all about that. I didn't forget all about that. I just didn't. Yeah. Morton Upshot says Nintendo Wii gyro boards used in early quads. My guess would be that the gyro in the Wiimote would run faster. I'll bet you that was one of the gyros, the first gyros that had like a low enough latency for it to be used. Kevin Sumner says, but again, that's just a guess. Kevin Sumner says, Morton Upshot, yep, Multi-Wii is one of the earliest firmwares. Betaflight descends from it. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. So there's also a tie-in with Betaflight. That's pretty slick. So that would make sense. The gyro board and setup, whatever, from the Wii, it sounds like almost was like open sourceable. So that you could actually do something with it. Buying just the gyro, you would have to design everything around. You'd have to program everything around that. So that's interesting. No shit. Kevin Sumner also says MSP is the multi-Wii serial protocol. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of it. So the gyro board in there. That's cool. Very cool. KVFPV says, hey man, got myself a Diamond F4. I'm so sorry. And I can't get it to fly well on Facebook or Quicksilver. Any tips? Get rid of it. I know that is not what you want to hear, KV, but that is what I need to tell you. Because that is the only solution. The Diamond AIO is significantly smaller, right? they took the regular AIO shape and they chopped a big chunk of it off in order to save weight. Unfortunately, in doing so, they removed so much capacitors and capacitance from it that the electrical system inside of that diamond AIO is extremely noisy. And electrical noise is about the worst possible thing for Betaflight and for the PID loop. And so the diamond AIO it's also extremely unreliable. So even if you spend enough time and effort to get that thing to fly right, that AIO is going to die on you pretty quickly. It's just a common thing. Like, it's just a super, super, super unreliable AIO if you can get it to fly right. Most people can't get it to fly right, myself included. I've had 2 or 3 of them over the years, and they're just they're just useless. Because of how electrically noisy they are, you can't put powerful motors on them, because the more powerful the motor, the more electrical noise it creates. But even when you pair them with lower power motors, you can't get a good PID tune. You have to crank the filters way up. They're just a complete nightmare. So yeah, like, do yourself a huge favor and just cut your losses. Just get rid of it. Maybe somebody will buy it. I don't know. I feel weird telling you to sell it, because you're just selling someone else a hopeless thing. But hey, you do you. Yeah. If you stick with it, you are going to spend a shitload of time and effort trying to get it to work right, and then it's just going to die anyway, and you're going to be back to square one. The AIO that you want is the regular old Happy Model F4 5 amp full size to square ELRS. That's the one. Or the FR Sky version. It's the AIO that comes in the Mobula 6, the regular old Mobula 6. The ELRS version is the best because low latency, crazy range, all that good stuff. That AIO is the polar opposite. If the diamond is over here, the regular F4 5 amp AIO is all the way over here. It's bulletproof. The electrical noise is not an issue at all. You can get a locked in PID tune. You can run it on 36,000 kV motors. Like, it is a brilliant AIO. It's wild that Happy Model makes literally the best and the worst AIOs in all of the world of in the world of Cinewhoop. Yeah, I'm sorry that you got the worst one, but my main recommendation is just to give up, brother. I know that sucks, and I can only imagine if somebody that knew what they were talking about was telling me that about something that I just spent my hard-earned money on. But if you stick with it, you're not going to win. If I couldn't figure 3 of them out, no offense, but you're not going to be able to figure that one out. They're just no good. They just took too many capacitors off of it. And yeah, it's just a mismanufactured product. I can't believe that they still sell it. I totally can believe that they still sell it. I wish that they didn't still sell it. Because yeah, it's just a nightmare. So sorry, dude. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but at least I can help you not lose your mind pouring hours and hours and hours of your life into trying to get it to work, and then having it either fail or just continue to not work because it's just a shitty product rather. Something strange just happened. What is happening here? There we go. I'm back. Lucky says, we just started, let's go. Flesh FPV said, that's Lucky saying let's go, not me. I'll never say those 2 stupid words together. Flesh FPV said, on purpose at least. Flesh FPV says, got your email for the free frame. Thanks, you're certainly welcome. We're going to do that again at 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we're going to do another giveaway for 5 more codes for a free Cockroach V3 65mm motor-to-motor frame, my favorite Cinewhoop frame. I recommend you get the lighter weight version of it, but you do you. There's a PC version, there's a PP version. The PC version, I believe it is a gram lighter. You'll see when you're buying it. They have the weights listed out. Rain Squad FPV said Rain Squad or Rain's Quad says, are you going to do a 533 flip switch build? I don't know what the 533 flip switch is, so I guess the answer to your question is probably not. But let's look it up. Let's see what that is. Wow, come on. There we go. 533 flip switch. Well, that doesn't help. All right, hold on. I guess I have to find it on their website. Flip switch. Flip switch. There it is. Let's see what that is. LED. LED freestyle design. Is it a quad based around LEDs? Oh, wait, no, that's LED. Community LED. What an asshole. Community LED freestyle design. I guess you see what you want to see, man. $75, that's a pretty good price. Why is it so dark? I can't fucking see it. Dude, what? You got, what? There we go. Oh, cool. This is a much more standard freestyle design. Evan approached me ages ago. It's funny you mentioned this. I have this sitting on my desk. This is a prototype frame that Evan sent me, Jesus, years ago. For a freestyle. This was the prototype of his first freestyle frame. I don't know what to do with this. If anybody is like, if any of you OGs are super interested in this, message me. And it was a very strange, like, underslung design. And yeah, my feedback was basically like, I don't love frames like this because they're very hard to work on, and it's just, you know, everything is upside down and backwards, and it's just kind of weird. I love this. I love this more standard kind of design here. You know, like, I dig innovation, but, like, innovation for the sake of innovation, I don't love. We've, you know, this, I call this frame design school bus. And, like, most frames are this design for good reason. So I love seeing Evan doing a more standard designed frame. This is very cool. Look at this. What's happening with this top plate design, though? What's that about? What is this? What is this a picture of? What is the deal with these product images? They're brutal. Oh, look at that. I can just barely kind of see what's going on here. So this is actually really cool. I really like this. Oh, wait, no. I was about to say instead of, man, these product images are brutal. It's really hard to tell what the hell's going on here. It is both a split top plate and split bottom plate. That is wild. So the reason that the split bottom plate frames are so cool, and like, I was actually designing a 5-inch frame, 4 or 5 years ago with Rotorius, my very first sponsor, that was a split base plate, specifically to get us more room for our cameras. When back then the cameras were a lot bigger, and the camera tends to the camera tends to be the tallest, especially when you put a bunch of up tilt on it, and you know, your square-ish camera becomes it's not a diamond shape, but I don't know, becomes taller. When you have something like this and then you flip it up like that, right? It takes up more vertical space. Yeah, I thought it would be cool to do that, to get more space for the camera and be able to slam the rear end of the frame more. And this takes that to another level. This is both splitting the base plate and splitting the top plate. I usually when you split the base plate, you get yourself plenty of room. I don't know why he has also split the top plate. My guess is by getting this front part of the top plate a little bit higher, it raises the GoPro up a little bit more so that you have less prop in view. That's my guess. Interesting. I mean, like, look at how much space is in here for the, right? Like, so it doesn't feel like he split the top plate to make more room for the FPV stuff, right? So it kind of would only make sense that it has to do with the GoPro. That's very cool. The only thing I don't like about this split top plate, this has been done before. My main complaint has always been that the battery, in really hard nose-in crashes, the battery will just slam into this carbon here. And it's really, really, really hard on the battery. Normally, you've just got a nice TPU GoPro mount, and it'll slam into that, and it won't hurt the battery. But having a battery bash into this, 2mm thick piece of carbon here is a little scary. It looks like he does have strap slots in order to toilet tank the battery. I like that even less. I think toilet tanking is an awful idea. You can only run one single battery strap, which is bad enough in itself, but then you've got to try to get the battery perfectly centered or the CG is going to be wrong, and that's really tough to do because like the LiPo cells are here, and then there's like the part where the wire comes out. It's not quite as heavy, so you can't just like feel the battery and center it by feel. You have to center it by feel and then push it over a little bit more, and then it's like, how do you test that? You got to like set something up on the rig so that you can hold it like a fishing line or something like that, so you can hold it vertically to see if the CG is off left to right. Also, then if you crash on your side, the battery is going to want to fire out the side of the damn thing. And then the other big thing is that when you toilet tank a battery, you can't get you can't. So you've got your GoPro up front, which is really heavy, weighting the nose down. If you toilet tank the battery, you have to shift it all the way to the back of the frame in order to counterbalance to fix your CG. And if you do that, the battery is in line with the props. So now you've got the props spinning right underneath, the sharp-ass prop spinning right underneath the battery. So if you bend a prop, it goes right up into the battery, punctures the cells, and your battery catches on fire and melts your quad to the ground. So yeah, toilet tanking is a really nasty idea, in my opinion, and in my experience. I've tried it quite a bit, and it was just a total nightmare. The sides of the frame here are pulled in a little bit, so you could absolutely run 2 battery straps around the middle here. You're probably going to need to run a battery strap in the rear though, because the batteries are kind of long. And there's no retention back here for the rear battery strap, which is kind of annoying. You want to have these little bump outs to kind of keep it in place. This is like quality of life stuff that nobody talks about, but after you've run something for a month starts to drive you mad. It doesn't look like there's any motor protection on the ends of the arms. That's a super shame. This frame's going to be really hard on motors. Like, you can see how much the motor's hanging out here. So like crashes, on the side, like crashes that are like vertical like this, the motor bell is going to hit the ground first, and it's going to demolish the motor. So that's a shame. It's. I thought everybody kind of knew that we needed. Oh wait, though, here we go. Here's some protection on these arms. So maybe. Sure wish I could see something in any of these pictures. So maybe Evan figured that out. Hey, here we go. Amazing. Okay, great. Okay, thank God. I was gonna say, how is this not like a known? Like Evan is a fucking brilliant guy. How is it not a known thing that we need motor protection on the arms? So cool. Yeah, looks like an interesting frame. This is interesting. The battery lead's coming out here. I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah, I don't know. Could be cool. Seems like an interesting frame. I don't know. What's it weigh? Oh, come on, Evan. Really? Where there? Maybe it's just like absolutely brand new. There's just no info on this whatsoever. I mean, I'm assuming it swings 5-inch props. It looks like a 5-inch build. But yeah, I mean, there's not a shred of information about this in terms of like what it weighs, what you can mount in it. So yeah, that's tough. But I love that he has a more standard designed freestyle frame. That's great. And Evan's brilliant, so it's probably really, really good. So yeah, that's what I can say about it. Kevin Sumner says, is that a prototype footy you have there? It is indeed. Mr. Judd says, thank you for the Cockroach frame, but unfortunately the code did not work. Message me again. I told Kelvin, because I accidentally showed all of those codes on the stream, I told Kelvin to deactivate all those codes, which he now has. So for any of you that won the last time, yeah, message me and I'll give you a fresh code. I think he just updated the sheet. I actually need to ask. Yeah, that's 100% my bad. I accidentally showed 2 full pages of the codes on the goddamn stream. Just to confirm, the codes have been changed on the existing spreadsheet, right? Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure that's the truth. But yeah, message me again if your code doesn't work. I'll send you a new one and it will work. I have learned my lesson. I will keep the spreadsheet on this monitor that is not shared on the stream. And he says, yes. All right. Awesome. Cool. And we're going to do that in a second. I just have to get caught up on the stream here. Caught up on the chat, rather. Morton Upshot says, show us that Milky White PP you're so proud of. You gotta pay me extra for that. Morton Upshot says, I'm seeing the Mobula 7 is now coming with the X12 board. To my knowledge, the Mobula 7 1S ELRS, at least, has always come with the X12 board. I got one really early on when that Mobula 7 came out, and it came with an X12 board. And then I got another one about a year ago, and it also came with an X12 board. So yeah, I think they've always come with it. OCDFPV says, is Happy Model ELRS AIO out of stock everywhere until February? Also February, the new Mobula 6 will be released. Yeah, I hope not. I hope more of them start popping up, because I have 2 extras, but I would love to snag like a 3rd extra just in case the new Mobula 6 sucks. So yeah, hopefully we get some more. KVFPV says, my X12s are perfect. I just thought I'd try one out and see how it goes. Yeah, the Happy Model makes a couple of really good AIOs. The one that I mentioned that comes in the Mobula 6 and the X12 that comes in the Mobula 7. But then they make a couple AIOs that are pretty awful. Their cross AIO sucks. Their super whatever AIO sucks. And their diamond AIO is brutal. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. That'll teach you to have brand loyalty. There's our lesson in why brand loyalty is bad. Just because a brand makes one thing that works doesn't mean that they're going to make anything else that works. Brand loyalty is a funny thing, and I'm just as guilty of it as anyone. It's something that we need to not participate in. We need to beat out of ourselves, I should say. Metadertzian says, and multi-Wii begat base flight, which begat clean flight, which gave birth to Betaflight. Amen. Yeah, I was actually not into FPV in those old school days. I got into it right when Betaflight got good and was like a standardized kind of thing. Thank God. Troy Pulak says, have you seen the new BetaFPV BT2.0 U leads that eliminate the bend at the battery? I have. I'm waiting for somebody to get them in stock so I can snag a couple. I love it. Jesse from Cinewhoop weighed them, and it's basically like a 0.1 of a gram, I think, weight penalty, just because it's like a big chunk of molded plastic versus the way we've been doing it for a while, just running the leads into the regular BT2.0 at like a 45-degree angle. I'll take that weight penalty for not having to do that janky soldering job, just to be able to buy they'll probably sell them in like 6-packs and just solder them directly up. Cut them as short as you can, solder them directly up. Awesome. Also, that chunk of plastic is going to give you a nice like chunk of plastic to hold on to when you're trying to unplug BT 2.0. BT 2.0, the pins in there, the 2 pins, for some reason they have like concentric circles on them. So if you push a BT 2.0 lead really hard into the battery, it is incredibly difficult to unplug. So I'm really excited for those, to just be able to have something that I can grip a little bit better to get the batteries unplugged. So yeah, I'm all about it. Traffic AU says, it was just convenient and relatively cheap. Gyros on a breakout board weren't really a thing yet. Interesting. Atomic Rebel says, I want to build an ultimate freestyle whoop that I occasionally would like to race. Would be okay just to throttle cap the motors. Absolutely, Atomic Rebel. Throttle limiting and or motor limiting in Betaflight works brilliant. I have tested the shit out of it on 5-inch rigs, on tiny whoops, on everything. And it just works amazing. So yeah, throttle limiting, motor limiting, whichever you choose to use is a totally valid way of doing that. Stephen Woodruff says, did I miss anything yet? Not really. Just, me screaming and yelling and not being able to get the stream working. Daniel1964 says, in the 12-hour stream, you mentioned BetaFPV had a folded cell 300 mAh. I ordered some to try, and like you stated, they're all the same. BetaFPV takes longer to get here, as stated, 1 month. Gotcha. You were saying BetaFPV, not Betaflight. Got it. That makes total sense. And it also makes total sense that the BetaFPV folded cell 300 mAh batteries are identical to all the other ones. So thank you for getting back to us on that. That's very, very cool. Brad Munn says, finally able to use my hand enough to hop on the sim today and relearn to fly. Why do you have to relearn? Because is it like stiff kinda? Glad that you're able to fly again. That's awesome, dude. Chuck P says, are those quad gas 320 mAh folded cell batteries really the same 300 mAh labeled differently? They are indeed. Yeah, quad gas is the one. Is it Dogcom? I think it's Dogcom, which is the other company selling 300 mAh folded cell BT 2.0 batteries. But like quad gas, they're labeling them as 320 mAh. Just to confirm that there's absolutely no standardization whatsoever in the world of FPV batteries, and you can put, this battery will give you a bigger dick on them, and you'll get away with it. And by the way, it's 7,000 mAh, and it's a folded cell battery, and lots of people will buy it and be sadly disappointed and complain about you, but you'll already have made a whole bunch of money. So yeah, how to run a business in America in 2024. Rain Squad FPV. So yeah, the actual answer to your question of are you doing a 533 flip switch build is no. It's just so much work to do a proper 5-inch build, and I just don't fly 5 inches much anymore. And if I'm gonna fly a 5-inch rig, it's gonna be a glide. Yeah, yeah, there's just, at this point, there's not going to be a frame. There's probably not going to be a frame that is enough better than the Glide for me to justify the incredible amount of time and effort that it would take to swap a whole bunch, to swap everything over. And having your whole fleet be on the same frame is absolutely brilliant. Like, it is so nice to just pick a frame and stick with it. And then you can share parts. They all fly the same. You can actually learn things about that frame every single time you fly it, regardless of which one of these I fly. Like, I can, yeah, it really makes a lot of sense. So it's all Glide all the time for me. Off Access dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, dude. Hat Trick says, whoa, what's this healthcare fund? You good, dude? I am. It's just, doing this as a job. I have to get my own healthcare, and it's expensive. I make like just enough money where yeah, it's expensive for me to get healthcare. So yeah, if you want to help me on that journey to maybe, and so yeah, I mean, for the past 4 years I just haven't had it. And maybe this is the year that I get me some health insurance. At the moment, and for the last 3 years, my healthcare budget has gone towards talk therapy, which has been the thing that has been trying to kill me the most. So yeah, I've prioritized my healthcare by finding an incredible talk therapist. I think this is talk therapist number 6 or 7 in my lifetime. And I have to pay completely out of pocket. He doesn't even take insurance. Most of the really good talk therapists don't take insurance, because it's just an absolute nightmare for them to deal with insurance companies. And so, yeah, that has been, and will continue to be, where the majority of my healthcare, budgeted money on a monthly basis goes. But yeah, it would be nice to have healthcare for the rest of my body. So yeah, if you want something to donate towards, I threw that up there. This will change. This shifts around commonly. Like, if there's a really cool product that a bunch of you want to see me test, we'll change it up to the 533 flip switch fund. But yeah, when I don't have a specific product that I'm interested in, I just kind of throw it up here as the healthcare fund to give you guys something that you can fill up for a while. That's what she said. Brandon Woodford says Cinewhoop has the BT2.0 90 in stock. They had singles and a full pack of 6. Look at that. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. Pack of 6. God damn it. I just did an order from there too. I wonder if they had it when I did the order. I bet you they had it when I did the order. God damn it. And I think I just got the email today that it shipped. Shipment is on the way. Your order is on the way. Yesterday it shipped. God damn it. I'll find another reason to do another Cinewhoop.com order. I don't need them like right away though. I'll wait. I'm gonna wait. I'll be a good boy and wait. Brandon Woodford says, I meant the 180 degree, but you got me. Yep. Squirrely Nuts says, are the Tattu 450 mAh with the BT 2.0 folded cell? I believe so. So this is Weebleed's version of that battery. And they're very flat, like the folded cells are, and they perform phenomenally. At 450 mAh, it's less important for it to be folded cell. The regular, more oval 450 mAh cells are really good. But I believe that this is. I don't think it specifically says that it is, but it certainly flies like it is, and it's fine. So, I mean, yeah, even if it's not, it's going to perform really good for you. So, yeah, grab yourself some. You'll like them. Stephen Woodruff says, health insurance or Whoop props? I don't know. Whoop props? What do you mean? Where are we at here? There it is. Thank you, Stephen. Much appreciated, brother. Hat Trick with a 50 Canadian Californian dollar super chat. Thank you so much, brother. I have a feeling that's for this. So we're just going to go like that. And we are off and running. Thank you, guys. Very cool of you. Thank you, Hat Trick. Thank you, Stephen. Brad Mondin says, not sure if you mentioned it, but what is your 5-inch frame of choice? FPV Cycle Glide. All day. Hat Trick says, someone has to pay this man for the incredible work he does. Thank you, dude. Much appreciated. Let's do a giveaway. 5 people are going to win a code for a free Cockroach 65 V3 frame from Newbie Drone. All you have to do in the chat is type the word me. You've got 2 minutes. Type me into the chat. Wait, no, don't type me. Just put a space. Just hit the space bar and hit enter. Everybody who said me, do it again. Just hit the space bar and hit enter. I want it to be blank. There we go. It needs to be blank. Everybody else stop typing. Just blank. No dots. Just blank. Blank. Enter. If you want a chance to win a Cockroach 65 V3 frame, you've got 1 more minute. It just makes it easier for me to drop all of these into the randomizer. So yeah, everybody else stop typing and just, if you want a chance to win, spacebar, enter, go. I'm going to getting these dropped in here. Don't do multiples. God damn it, I forgot to say that. Don't do multiples. It fucks it all up. Oh, CMYK, you bastard. All right. I got to remember in the future, don't do multiples. It just, I have to go in and remove them. Okay. Here we go. So, we are going to remove everybody from here. And, all right. Here we go. And so we're going to start here. And I got a bunch that I need to remove. 661 says, it said my comment was too short. It let everybody else do it. I'm just going to do this. 661, you'll be good. All right. Okay, so erratics. Oh, 661, you're already on here. Good. Morton, Stephen Woodruff, Troy, Gust. I got Michael Bork's bits, FTW, Hat Trick, Ethan W. Oh wait, I can do this. Oh, that's so much better. All right, Matty O, Scott, Safe Zone, Northern Tier, CMYK. Can I get a? I think I saw you on here already, right? Can I get it? Yep. All right, cool. So let's take. Can I get it off? And then there he is again, Stephen Woodruff. I think maybe I saw you on here already. Yeah. Stephen Woodruff. I got to take you out. Okay. Safe Zone, Northern Tier, CMYK. Can I get a Stephen Woodruff? Metal Dirt Skin, Traffic, 661, Bunger, Mac, Ethan W, Lucky, Market Zero, Northern Tier, Rock Crawler, Cowboy. All right, so here are the CMYKs that need to be removed. I'm also going to remove this 661 because he was already in there. Can I get... Oh, wait, no, I got to remove this last CMYK. Okay. Justin, David, FPV Graybush, and 661. Okay, I think we're good. 661, I'm going to take you out from up here. And... All right. That... Stephen Woodruff says I'm on there twice. I think I got you out of there, though. Right? Stephen Woodruff. Yep. I got your duplicate off of there. All right, cool. Jeff Wisecarver says, name for motor, Tailspin. Yeah, as a reminder, I am looking for a motor name that involves the Gangly Gang. Like the Gangly motor or like the Gangle rotor or something like that. Goost Cine Air, thank you for being honest and telling me that you're on here twice. Where you at? 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 Goose, 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 goose. Here's a goose. Okay, awesome. Gotcha. Very, very cool of you. You guys are the fucking best, man. Like, the fact... I mean, you know damn well that if I didn't... Rain Squad said it won't let me post a comment. You want to be on here, right, Rain Squad? Put you on. I'll put you on. I got you. Gage says, stays fly, says miss me. Tag me if I missed you. I just ran through it. Tag me if I missed you. I'm just going to say Gage. I'm just going to put Gage on here. Gangly cans. That's interesting. I don't love it. It's the best one I've heard yet, though. Morning Upshot says, drop it into a spreadsheet first. It makes it easy to remove dupes. I'm the worst when it comes to spreadsheets. Mr. Judd with a $10 super chat. He says, what is the largest micro drone? Man, that's an interesting question. I think it's 4-inch. I really think that once we get to 5-inch, we don't call them micros anymore. Brad Monden says, just FYI, it won't let you on mobile. Okay, so if you're on mobile, just tag me. Just tag me. 6S1 rightfully says 5 inches technically a mini drone. Yeah, 5 inches get called mini quads. It's really hard. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. Kevin the Alien says, I don't think I saw myself on there. Let me get you going here. Okay. Gage stays fly. I got you on there. Kevin Sumner says, I went ahead and dropped my list in Discord. Adam Weston says, gangly cans. Ethan W says, I'm on there twice. Thank you, Ethan. Get you off of here the second time. Ethan W. And then Ethan W. Got it. Thank you, man. Threat FPV. Okay, so loads of people got missed here. Threat FPV. Get you on here. Brad Monden. Atomic Rebel. Wow, mobile would not let any of you guys do it. I guess next time if you're on mobile, I'm just gonna have you hit like a period or something like that. Okay. Chronica wasn't there. Okay, good. Motorsport slang for wheels is wheels. There really isn't. I mean rims, but we're not going down that rabbit hole. Dayworkers, 16-bit. Okay, Z-Bear. There. Okay. Yeah, see, now I gotta take all these out. There's gotta be a better way. We'll figure out a better way. All right, and we've got feigning goat. I'm just gonna put you in as feigning. 16-bit. Okay. Thought you were already on here. 16-bit. Yep, I already got you on here. All right, so let's remove you. Okay. 16-bit, you're good. Matt Norton says didn't work. I'm just going to put you in here as Matt N. And Bob Bruce. All right. We got Z-Bear. We got Prop Junkie. Jeff Wise Carver. I'm just going to do Jeff Wise. And all right, I think we're good, right? I think we're good. If you haven't seen yourself on there, sucks to be you. AJ Farrer with a $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. SkintFPV with a $4.99 super chat. He says, thanks for that entertaining as always. You're certainly welcome, my friend. Thanks for the support. Prop Junkie says, don't they call them shoes in the hood? I guess that's more for tires, but yeah. Yeah. Atomic Rebel says, if 5 inches mini quad, what size is full size quad? Yeah, right. What is? Is it 6 inch? Is it 10 inch? It's all over the place. You got like 10 more seconds to say, hey, you missed me, you dumb gangly bitch. They gave me a ton of these codes though, so there are going to be many more opportunities if I did miss you. Thanks again, Mr. Dud, for the super chat. I think we're good, right? We're good. We're going. Here we go. Submit. There's going to be lots of garbage tickets, but we're just going to hit the button over and over and over again. Let me change the timing. It saved my timing. Fantastic. Let's do it. Sad goat is sad. He's getting old. Let's see if we get a person's name or a time. Or an at CiottiFPV. Oh, is it really putting the blanks on? That's kind of silly. Can I get a channel? Congratulations, brother. You have won. Hey, by the way, here's how it works. It's a coupon code. You're going to add that, add the frame to your cart, and then you put the coupon code in, and it's just going to remove the price of the frame. So if you get enough, if you buy a bunch of stuff, enough to get free shipping, then you put the coupon code in and the frame's free. If you just go on their website and just put the frame in your cart, you're going to have to pay for chicken. Chicken? Shipping. Oh my god. You're going to have to pay for chicken too, but yeah, that's how it works. So it's a coupon code. Can I get a channel over on Ciotti? And everybody else, there's 4 more people that are about to win. CiottiFPV.com has all my contact info. Pick whichever one you want. Message me. Yo, I won the free Cockroach frame. I need your name and your email address. Name and email address. My name is blah, blah, blah. My email address is blah, blah, blah. And I will reply back with the code for you. Cool? Let's do another one. And play again. Hit the goat too early. I'm going to make it less than 5 seconds. There's so many tickets. It's freaking out. I do need to go on here and write, can I get a channel? Nothing. I can't believe it's pulling the blanks. That's kind of silly. Says the thingy. Okay. And those of you whose coupon codes aren't working, message me and I'll send you one that does work. Come on, pick a person, pick a person. Yeah, it's going to be a person. OCDFPV, congratulations, you have won. OCDFPV. You're on the list. Message me and I'll send you the code. Play again. Go. Oh, I forgot to make the thing. Forgot to shorten up the time. Come on, pick a person, not a time. Pick a person. Nope, it's going to pick a time. Play again, and I'm going to shorten it up to 2 seconds. Oh, this is going to be nuts. Oh, boy. Holy shit. Rain Squad FPV, congratulations. You have won. Oops. You're on the list. 2 more. Huge shout out to Newbie Drone for doing this. This is the best tiny whoop frame in the world. Metal Dirt Skin, congrats. You've won, my friend. Metal Dirt Skin. One more person gonna win, and the next stream we'll do it again. The goat has found a renewed sense of all things good, and Morton Upshot has won. Congratulations, friends. There we go. I got you on there, Morton. Shoot me a message. I'll send you a message back with the code. Let me know if it doesn't work, and we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. I'll just keep sending codes till one works. All right, 10 tips in Betaflight that will absolutely make you a much better pilot. Maybe. Probably. Possibly. I'm going to hook up a flight controller that does not have ELRS on board, because I don't want it to sit there and get all hot and angry. So let's hook up. What does this guy have? This guy has. This should be good. No. This is a digital quad. So we're gonna be like talking pretty much analog. So I need a analog rig. Let's get this guy going. All right, this should be good. This should have all the secret things. Yeah. This should have all the secret things. Okay, so in Betaflight, I recently, not in Betaflight, in life, I recently got a request to show my OSD and talk about why I put stuff where I put stuff and why I chose the specific things in there. Actually, hang on. Z-Bear says it's a Jersey thing. OCD says on Discord, Discord's fine. Yep. Stephen Woodruff says time for a gangly fan. I could do that. But this is even easier. And yeah, that kind of made me think like, hey, we can go a step further and talk about a bunch of stuff in Betaflight. So let's do that. Let me just make sure that this isn't powering anything weird. So it's powering the receiver off of the USB 5 volt, but it's not powering the VTX. And that's exactly what I want. So let's fire up Betaflight here and we're going to dive in. So the main thing that I want to talk about is OSD, which just never really gets talked about. Like what you put on your OSD, and like the secret really cool little things here and there. Sometimes Betaflight takes forever to launch. Is just something that nobody really dives into, and it really does make a difference. And let's get into it. So in your OSD, so this is what my OSD looks like, I should say. Let's zoom in a little bit. So we've got, all right, so where's my face in OBS? Is it bottom left? It's bottom left. Okay, so I'm going to shift this off to the right for everybody. Okay, and I can probably get it a little bit bigger than that. All right, cool. So craft name up here in the top left corner, just in case somebody else is if you're flying with a bunch of people, it just makes it easier for folks to see who they're looking at. And it's just kind of a cool thing to have up there. MAH used, battery current MAH drawn. So this is going to count up. This down here is actually, and just as a little tip, as you can see on the left side of the screen there, when you hover over these, it actually highlights which element on the left it is, right? So this guy here, most people will use the battery voltage, the full battery voltage. And that's cool, but if you fly rigs that are 6S and 4S and 2S and 3S and 1S, you're going to have to sit here and do the math on this battery voltage with every different rig. And that's just silly. Also, you only get 1 decimal place when you use the battery voltage. This is also the default item, is just standard battery voltage. Turn that shit off, yo, and turn on battery average cell voltage right here. This is going to give you 2 decimal places for the individual cell voltage, and you're no longer going to have to do the goddamn math and think about which rig is this? Is this the 4S one? Is this the 6S one? It's just going to give you every single rig, single cell voltage. It is doing an average of the entire battery voltage, but you don't hook the balance leads up to anything, so it would be impossible to get individual, like, you know, I guess the best case scenario would be if we could somehow hook our balance lead up, and then we could have an array of these to check each individual cell voltage. That'd be a nice way of catching a cell that's about to drop live, but there's really no way to do that I've ever seen. This works incredibly well. And yeah, like I said, the little extra secret is that you get 2 decimal points, which is actually like really, like, you won't believe how nice it is to have two decimal points there. When I fly something where I've forgotten to do this, or it just doesn't give me the 2 decimal points, it feels awful. Like when I get to 3.6 volts, I can, or 3.5 something volts, I can watch it like 359, 358, 357, 356, and like I know exactly when it's about to hit 3.5. When I fly something that only has 1 decimal point, when I hit 3.6, I'm like, well, I gotta come in and land, because like I don't know when it's gonna go from 3.6 to 3.5. So this is a really subtle thing, but it actually makes a really big difference in not over discharging your batteries, and just knowing that your battery is about to hit 3.5. This is really, really, really slick. And the fact that you don't have to do the math is just amazing. The warnings here, low voltage is just, you know, the warning that they call out. But yeah, this is the actual warnings here. This is RSSI, and this is link quality. Yes, link quality is a more valuable thing to look at, but RSSI is also really important. So it makes sense to have them both, in my opinion. Off on the right here, this is the throttle percent. This is stupidly important, not only for like testing stuff, but like, I mean, mainly for testing stuff, but it's just so nice to have that throttle in there, especially if you're troubleshooting or testing. It's just so nice to have that. And it also can help you kind of be a better pilot when you're watching back your DVR, seeing when you're full throttle, when you're half, all that good stuff. It's super important for dialing in your throttle expo, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. This is battery current draw, how many amps are being pulled. This is pretty obvious why this is important. And then this is timer. Timer 1, timer 2, doesn't really matter. Just pick one. I think for some reason, by default, it has timer 1 on here, but then by default in the post-flight stats, it has timer 2. Very weird. Pick one. Put your post-flight stats onto the same timer number, 1 or 2, as you have here. And then in the top right corner, this is the angle, the pitch angle that you're currently at. You can see on the left here, as I roll over it, it highlights angle, pitch. This is one that I don't use all the time, but every once in a while this comes in super handy. When I'm doing like efficiency testing, this is God, because you can take either 2 rigs or the same rig and put them at Sorry, guys. Thank you, CMYK. All right. I don't know how much of that. I'm just going to quickly go through it because I gave you all the audio. So this is warnings here. This is RSSI. This is link quality. This is your timer in the bottom right. This is the battery current draw, how many amps you're pulling. This is your throttle position. And then up here in the top right is your angle pitch. The pitch angle is actually really, really nice. On the same quad where the accelerometer and the gyro are both like calibrated, you know, the calibration is not really going to change. You can take, if you've got 2 different batteries and you want to see if one of them is on its way out, or you've got a new battery that's like high volt and it says that it's a higher milliamp and you want to see if it's actually going to run longer, take your rig off and put this pitch angle at the same value for as long as possible. And that is going to do a really, really, really good job at, and here's the other key, is try not to change your altitude. If you, the reason why I fucked up is because I have this all zoomed in and I can't see OBS when I do that. If you take off and you put your rig at, like, let's say 30 degrees, and you don't gain or lose altitude for the entire battery, that is a really, really, really good way of testing efficiency. It's not the perfect way of testing efficiency because as you get more or less wind, the PID loop is going to ramp the motors up and down, which is going to eat electricity. But so like on different days, I would not do this. But if you go out and you fly a battery and then you back-to-back another battery, and then if possible, you go charge both of those batteries and do that again, you're going to get really, really, really good results from matching up your pitch and then trying to not gain or lose altitude. What I try to do is fly low, but not super low. If you fly super low, you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments on the throttle. And you also like have the potential of getting into ground effect, and then that's going to change things. So fly like a foot off the ground. Fly like as low as you can without having your altitude change all the time. And just cruise, man. Find a massive parking lot or a big long strip. Sometimes I'll do it with power lines. And so with power lines, I'll just come up near the power line and I'll just try to keep it above me, or I'll go above them and try to keep it below me at like a static distance. Also, you're going to hopefully have your throttle value in there, and that's going to help as well. Try to like keep your throttle value as static as possible. And like after you've done this for a battery or two, you'll figure out like if I'm at 30% and I put the throttle at like 46 percent basically, I don't gain or lose altitude. That's going to change a little bit as the battery sags, and especially like if you're testing a high volt battery versus a regular battery. So you can't just match those two numbers up exactly, but the pitch number, you can just nail it. You can just set it at 30 degrees and just leave it. It's going to take a little bit of moving around, but if you've got a nice long run, man, you can put it at exactly 30 degrees and just leave it and just sit there with the throttle and just try to keep the throttle as static as possible. If you're flying in like a loop or something like that, it's going to be a little bit more hard, but you wouldn't believe how good the results can be from doing this. And quite honestly, like, yeah, bench testing is there's always way more control with bench testing, but there's a lot of scenarios where bench testing kind of like leaves some stuff out. So doing this for real, I think, is a lot closer than proper bench testing than you would think. So yeah, those are the actual elements that I put into my OSD. There are some other OSD elements that are really cool. And if you want me to talk about them, by all means, type CiottiFPV, please talk about such and such on here, and we'll kind of go through it. I try not to have my OSD be so busy that it's distracting. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time just kind of adding and removing things. The pitch angle, if I was going to remove something, the pitch angle would be the first thing to go. I only really use it when I'm doing testing. So for the most part, I could just turn it on when I wanted to do testing and then turn it off. It's so far up into the corner that it does not distract me. The reason that I put that all the way up in the corner, well, for you guys, it's over here. The reason I put it up here is to get it the hell out of the way. I used to have it down here above the throttle value, and it was just like there were just elements that are starting to kind of creep up. I keep all of the stuff down nice and low and kind of tucked away. Jesus, come on. Down nice and low and just sort of tucked away. Also, you don't... So the thought process behind putting these elements on the bottom rather than the top is that typically I find my eyes up towards the top of the viewfinder, of the screens in our goggles. So having these down the bottom, it's just, I forget that they're even there. Like if I want to look at them, I can shift my eyes down to look at them, but usually I'm just looking up here at what's happening, at the important shit, right? The stuff whizzing at my face at 80 miles an hour. So that's kind of my philosophy here. On the left, we've got battery info. In the middle, we've got warnings and link quality info. On the right, we have stuff that I don't look at nearly as often. So you want to like kind of decide where you're going to put this stuff and leave it. Because your muscle, for me, my muscle memory, anytime I want to know where the battery's at, my eyes shift down and left. Anytime I want to know link quality stuff, I look down. And then, on the bottom right, it's just specific, like kind of testing stuff. And again, that's why pitch is on the right rather than left, because the right side of the screen for me is like more technical kind of testy information. So that right there is how I've set my OSD up with way too much thought over the years. And quite honestly, I think that you should too. The other stuff going on in the OSD here, the timers, again, pick a timer, timer 1 or timer 2. I mean, I don't know why you would use timer 2. Just use timer 1. And now look, for your source here, so this is what it's going to show you in the actual timer here. So the default is on time, which doesn't, I think, which doesn't really make much sense. So that's going to start counting as soon as you plug the battery in. That I don't really care about that. What I want is the armed time. And you want the total armed time, not the last armed time. If you crash and you disarm and you have this set to last armed time, it's going to wipe it out and it's going to give you a fresh timer. That's not what you want. I don't actually know what on/armed time is. Maybe it tells you both, or maybe it flashes back and forth. I don't know. I don't care about how long it's been on. You want total armed time, in my opinion, for this particular timer. If you're curious as to what the on time is, you can set that down here in the post-flight stats. Where the hell is it? I guess you can't. Nope. You can just set it here. So that would be why you would want to use timer 1 and timer 2. So if you're really curious about the total on time, what you're going to do is on timer 2, you're going to set it to on time or on/armed time. And then you don't have to have timer 2 here in your OSD, but you can go down the bottom here into the post-flight statistics section and you can turn on the timer 2 so that it whenever you disarm, it'll show you that total on time. I don't know why anybody would. I'm sure there's a reason that somebody would care for the total arm time, the total on time, I should say. But yeah, the armed time is really the important one. The precision set at seconds. You don't need to go into this much detail. And then the alarm. This will start to blink this OSD element when it hits that number. So when this total armed time hits 4 minutes, not 4 seconds, when it hits 4 minutes, this will start flashing. Just to kind of let you know, like, hey, you've been flying for a long-ass time. Pay attention to me. It's just another thing that, like, is going to kind of help you out when you're approaching the end of the battery. I typically don't fly for 4 minutes, so that's a nice little number there. You could set it to 2 minutes or 3, whatever you want. The alarms are really cool. This is an RSSI alarm. If your RSSI drops below 30, it'll start to flash. This is the capacity alarm, which ties into this guy here. It ties into this battery current MAH drawn. So if this MAH goes above 1050, which is the size of the 6S batteries that I run, it'll start to flash that. Altitude, same deal. I don't use GPS though. Warnings is really important. Pretty much they're all turned on. Some people turn core temperature off. Fix the quad. The core temperature should not be exceeding the threshold that they have set. So yeah, I don't recommend you turn this off to get it to stop flashing the annoying core temperature warning. Fix the rig, figure out what's going on. These GPS rescues I don't have to have turned on, but I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to have them turned on. One of the ones that you do want to turn off is the RSSI DBM. It just doesn't work right. I think you can set the... I shouldn't say that. I think you can set the value of this in the CLI. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to do it. I probably should, but I haven't. I don't think RSSI is on by default. Yes, it'll flash the RSSI, but it's better to have like the full warning, so I turn on the RSSI warning. And then post-flight statistics are super fun. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. My favorite, which I don't have on, which is a shame. This is a cinematic quad, which is why I don't have this turned on. But my favorite one in the post-flight stats is the G-force maximum. It's just a really cool thing to see, especially when you've crashed. You'll see like 40 Gs that the gyro recognized when you slammed into a metal pole or something. It's just super cool. The ones that I do change these. I turn on battery current draw maximum. This will tell you the maximum amps that were pulled. The only problem with this is it resets this every time you arm and disarm. So every time you disarm, you want to take a quick look at this because it's going to reset. Battery MAH used, that is not per disarm. That's total MAH used, which is super cool. This right here, battery MAH used, is one of the easiest ways for you to change your battery scale to set your battery scale properly. You fly a battery, you bring it down at whatever you're comfortable bringing it down at, and you look at that. You fly another battery, you look at that. You fly another battery, you look at that. You got to do this a bunch of times because everybody runs the batteries down a specific amount. And like having your amp scale set absolutely perfectly is actually, in my opinion, not as good of an idea as doing it this way, right? Every time that you run your battery down to the amount that you're comfortable with, you look at that MAH used. And if that number is different from the MAH in your batteries that you run, you go and you change your scale. And you do that like 4 or 5 or 6 times, and then your specific scale and your MAH readout in your OSD will perfectly match the MAH of the battery that you're running. So that when you put that 1050 MAH battery on your rig and your MAH used in your OSD says 1050, get your ass on the ground, because that means that you have run it to the right amount for you. Hopefully, the only time that this doesn't work is if you over discharge your batteries all the time. And you do that trick, because then you're going to continue to over discharge your batteries every single time. This trick is really nice because as long as that's not you, as long as you land at 3.5, when this MAH readout says 1050, you've actually got a little bit more. And it'll work even better if you bring your batteries down at like 3.55 or 3.6, because then you've got a little bit extra in the tank, right? That MAH number will say 1050, but you'll actually have a little bit extra. So if you're really struggling to get it home from running it really far out, you'll have a little bit extra in the tank. I don't know. You could make an argument that that's actually a bad idea, and you want that number, you want it to hit 1050 as the battery is going to 3.0 volts and falling out of the sky. But for me, I would always rather have it hit 1050 a little bit earlier and have a little bit extra left to get myself home. I would always rather have a little bit too much juice left in the battery, you know what I mean? So because it hurts the batteries less when they're closer to 3.8 per cell. So yeah, that's a really slick way of getting your battery scaling, your amp scaling on your battery dialed in perfectly. Perfectly for you, I should say. Battery voltage. This is the current battery voltage. So when you disarm, this is going to be the lowest number possible, and then you're going to see it's going to start to bounce up a little bit. So that's really nice. Battery voltage end is it freezes when you disarm. So whatever the voltage was as soon as you disarmed, it's going to give you that exact number. I don't really care about that. This battery voltage is going to tell me that as soon as I disarm, and I tend to look at it real quick, and then I can watch it bounce back up. So this just, to me, wastes a line of the post-flight stats. And it's just one more thing to look at, right? Keep this slimmed down. Battery voltage minimum is way more important than battery voltage end, because this will tell you the absolute minimum that your battery was at through the whole flight. So if you've got a situation where at full throttle you're sagging the battery down to 2.9 volts, this will tell you that. So this is really, really, really nice to have on there. Black box number, kind of worthless. Black box usage, worthless. Whatever. If you're turning black box on and off, you'll know it. You don't really need that. ESC RPM maximum, that's a new one. That's pretty cool. I'm going to turn that on from now on. I like that a lot. ESC temperature maximum, that's actually a pretty good one. I'm not going to turn it on, but that's pretty cool. FFT, I still don't fully understand, so I'm actually going to turn that off. Flight distance, yeah, it's GPS stuff. Flight count total, that's actually a pretty cool one. I'm not going to leave it on because I try to keep this as slimmed down as possible, but that's pretty neat. I think this actually tracks on the flight controller how many flights you've had. Really, really cool stuff. Fly time total, actually don't know what that one is. G-force maximum, super fun. Home distance maximum, more GPS stuff. Link quality minimum, super important. This is going to catch problems with your transmitter link as soon as possible. And then RSSI minimum, super important. I love having these two things on. Look at these every single time. Date and time, no real use for that. Speed maximum, that's kind of fun. I wish I ran GPS, that'd be neat to see. And then either timer 1 or timer 2. And that, my friends, is everything that I can think to tell you about my OSD setup. Like I said, there is all kinds of shit that you can screw around with in here, but really be realistic and try to keep it as slimmed down as possible in my opinion. And I also think that you should keep them on the bottom of the screen, but you could make a really strong argument for actually putting these on the top of the screen because your eyes are going to be at the top of the screen more and it'll be easier to see them out of your peripheral vision. That's kind of a personal thing. Move them around, try them on the sides, try them on top, try them on bottom. For me, I want my focus to be on what is in front of me coming through the lens of the camera. And so I push them all down here. They're there. It's quick and easy to shift my eye line just for a split second to look at something. Put them in the same place on all of your quads. Here's a super nice trick. So get this all set exactly the way you want it, right? Spend some time bouncing back and forth, getting everything lined up, thinking about it, changing it, flying it. Once you have it all set exactly where you want it, go into the CLI and type diff, D-I-F-F. This is going to give you every single thing that you have changed that is different from dead stock Betaflight. And so at the bottom, there's a bunch of rate stuff. Then there's a bunch of PID stuff here. If you keep scrolling up, right in the middle, there's a big section that says set OSD. A whole bunch of lines here that start with set OSD. What you're going to do is you're going to click and drag to highlight this big chunk. It's one big chunk here. It puts them all together. Highlight this whole thing, open Apple C, Command C, Control C, and put this in a text document. And now every single other one of your rigs, you can come in here to the CLI, you can paste that chunk, and then you can type save. And it'll automatically dump all of those changes that you've made to the stock OSD, including the post-flight stats, all of it. It's going to dump those all into every single rig you own. And now, no matter what you're flying, you shift your eyes exactly down and to the left in the exact same location, and you hit your MAH drawn. You move your eyes straight down to the bottom, and you look at your RSSI. Having these things in the exact same spots on every rig is awesome. It really, it's just one less thing to think about. The caveat here is that the diff only shows you what you have changed. So it doesn't turn, it only turns things on. It doesn't turn anything off. So when you dump this in, all of those things that you had turned on are going to get turned on and they're going to move into the correct locations. But if on that rig that you're dumping this into the CLI, if you had a bunch of other elements, it's not going to turn those off. So after you do this trick, go into your OSD and check it. And if you had any extra stuff turned on, you might just need to turn it off real quick. But that's a super nice trick to save you a shitload of time moving OSD elements around if you have 15 rigs. Let me get caught up on chat because I'm sure there's some questions about some of this stuff. Let me get back into OSD. And all right, cool. So Stephen Woodruff says, thank you. You're welcome. I'm not sure what you were thanking me for, but you still got it. You're welcome. Oh God, Morton Upshot says, if you are tuning Betaflight GPS Rescue, will ESP RPM give you the hover value if you are hovering at the time? I have no idea. My guess would be yes. I've never messed around with GPS stuff, but my guess would be yes. If somebody tests that or knows the answer, let us know. Thurberg 2500 with a really good comment. He says, I have OSD image burn on my HDO2s. Yeah, that actually lends itself to not putting your OSD elements in the exact same place, because that's going to cause that burn in. I don't know. I put them in the same place. The OSD displays in white. Maybe do this. Change the font. Run a different font on every single rig. That'll help a little bit. But the OSD is going to display in white, and the burn is like a darker burn. So in theory, even though it's burned in, you're still going to be able to see it for the life of the goggles because it's displaying in white. So yeah, I mean, when you go to sell the goggles, somebody else is going to be like, what the hell? The screens are burned. But hey, welcome to buying something used, bros. Bob Bruce says, great comment, Thurberg. Bob Bruce says, show us how to collect the CLI from the OSD and how to replace on a new firm. Just did that. Kevin Sumner says, maybe it's arm time while armed, otherwise on time. That would make a lot of sense. That's almost certainly what it is. In talking about the source on the timers being on/armed time, that makes sense. So when you're disarmed, it tells you the fully armed time. As soon as you arm, it snaps over to armed time. That's pretty cool. Traffics AU says, you know what we need on the post-flight stats page? Throttle average position. That would be awesome. That would be really, really, really cool. So the reason Traffic's been paying attention, the reason that Traffic's is saying that is because in order to set your throttle expo perfectly, you have to set your midpoint. And that throttle average position would be nice for that, but it would actually be wrong. It would actually be, I don't know if it would be high or low. I think it would be low, because we spend a very little amount of time at full throttle, and that would throw that midpoint off. That would push that midpoint a little bit too high. But then we spend even more time at zero throttle, and that would pull that throttle average too low. To set your throttle expo perfectly, it's all about flying in your favorite spot that you fly the most often, at the speed that you fly most often, and just glancing over at that throttle value over and over and over again. That is the absolute best way to set it. And then you can play around with it, move it up and down by like 2 or 3 points, and you'll definitely feel the difference. Something that I just thought of, which also might be a good way to dial that value in, is to turn the amount of expo all the way up to 100. That is going to make a crazy throttle expo curve. And it's going to make it really obvious when you're in the flat spot of that curve versus when you're on the steep parts of that curve. And so it would just be super obvious. So you set that at 100, you fly. If it feels like your throttle resolution is a disaster, you've got your midpoint too high or too low. Change your midpoint, fly it again. At some point, you're going to get that midpoint perfect where you can move the throttle stick up and down like this, and there's almost no change in your elevation. That's where you want to be. And then move it up another 2 or 3 points, see if it gets worse, right? Move it back down, see if it gets worse, and you'll be able to find the absolute perfect throttle midpoint. I'm actually going to do that. We're gonna do that. That's a really good idea. But yeah, having an average throttle would get thrown way off from all the time that you spend at zero throttle, all the time we spend at 100%. But I love that thought, Traffic. I love that you're paying attention too. Morton Upshot says RSSI DBM is the value Bardwell says is more important. You can reset the threshold for ELRS. Default is free sky. I've heard Joshua talking about that, and I've just never dove into it. I really should. I really, really, really should. Benedictson says, for the warnings at the end, I always change end battery to battery so I can see how/if it bounces back up. Yep, the end battery is useless. Change it to battery for sure. Because you get the end battery number as soon as you disarm, right? It gives you it right there, bang. So yeah. Demo FPV says, the other thing, if you haven't changed that, if you didn't know, when you disarm and the post-flight stats come up, if you take your right thumbstick and you push it forwards, it'll clear the post-flight stats and it'll give you your regular OSD, which has your voltage, and you can watch your voltage bounce up there. Little known trick. Or you just get the post-flight statistics off the screen if your dog is doing something funny. Demo FPV is looking for new batteries for his Cinelog. What brand do you recommend? 4S850, if that helps. XT30. Almost no difference between the GNB 4S850s and the Tattu R-Line 4S850s. I think that the Tattu R-Lines are maybe a little bit better, but either one of those will work. RDQs, like house batteries that just say RDQ on them, those are GNB batteries. So you can get the GNBs from RDQ, Pyrodrone, Tattu R-Lines are all over the damn place. BetaFPV, I think, sells them. Yeah, those are the two best 4S850s that I've found, and I've tried them all because that is like my battery of choice for micros and for all of the Cinewhoops and live flying rigs that I have, which get used a ton. Squirrely Nuts says, set OSSI underscore RSSI underscore DBM underscore alarm equals, this is what you're looking for. With 250 hertz, I set it to -105. What is it? Let's see what it's set to by default. Let's go in here. And if you ever want to look at a default of something, just type get and then the name of the thing that you're curious about. So wow, it's way off. By default, it is -60. Look, the allowed range, though, that's weird. The allowed range is from -130 to 20. Oh, you said -105, not -150. Okay, cool. So yeah, that, and there's a brilliant, as they all are, Joshua Bardwell video about how to set that. That number needs to change depending upon your update rate in ELRS. If you're 250 hertz, it's different than if you're 500, than if you're 100. So yeah, Joshua's got a video on it. Watch that video, dive into it. I have not yet, but I just kind of, so that's to set the warning for when it starts flashing. I just glance down at it like as often as I can. And so if it were flashing, it would be nice, but yeah. CMYKFPV says post-flight CLI. Post-flight CLI, what's that mean? Adam Weston says, I've found once you pick a position for the elements, stick with it. Changing them will screw you up when you're panicked, for sure. For sure. Muscle memory is a real thing, especially when you start to panic. Brad Minden says, don't forget the random CLI line for camera HD or not. Thank you. I think the default is usually pretty good because the default for video format is auto. I just don't trust it. So yeah, make sure you set this video format properly because it'll mess you up. PAL, NTSC, HD, and then for units, pick whatever makes the most sense to you. The other things in the OSD menu that matter are this preview for OSD profile 1, 2, 3. If you want to look at what your different profiles are going to look like, you can change this. This is where you change your font. Yeah, I mean, which one? I used to run, is it Vision? No, I used to run extra large, I think it was. No, not extra large. Regular large. Yeah, well, no, that ain't it. I don't know. This is personal preference. Oh, it's Clarity. I used to run Clarity. That's it. Yeah, so clarity to me was the easiest to see, but then after a while it just got kind of obnoxious, and I ended up switching back to default because like the default is just less in my face and it's easy to read when it's there. So yeah, maybe just leave it on default. And then this active OSD profile is important here too. If you're not going to use the next trick that I show you, which is how you can activate different OSD profiles from your transmitter, this is going to control which of these 3 profiles over here is currently active. So if this OSD profile is set to like profile 3, and you're over here, come on, and you're over here adding all the things that you want onto OSD profile number 1, it's not going to change anything. You got to have those things match up. For the most part, just set the current active OSD profile to OSD profile 1, and away you go. Let me get caught up on chat before I show you how to have transmitter selectable OSD profiles, and I'll explain why that's so cool. CiottiFPV says, my favorite OSD profile is every OSD element. Brad Minden says, we got that. And then CYK says, what's the CLI copy paste for post-flight screen settings? It's in there. It's in the, when you type diff, it's actually, I think it's this OSD stat battery. This should be the post-flight statistics. This chunk here. Timer 1 on, timer 2 off. Yeah, it should be these last. Yeah, it definitely is, because look, set OSD stat max FFT. So yeah, it's right there. I think that's what you're asking, right? AJ Farrow says, do you run there if you guys like the way that the OSD looks? Nobody else likes the way it looks. To be honest, I think you should do this on all your rigs, because there are times where turning all of the OSD elements off is really, really, really nice. And just having a completely clean screen on a freshly charged battery and just totally diving into this and pretending like you're actually flying through the air is really, really, really cool. And it's super easy to do. You can piggyback it off of another switch. I have it on this switch here, which is above the throttle. So this is like a panic switch. If I ever lose video or just in general panic, this switch lives in the down position. But if I ever have to panic, I flip this switch up, and that puts it into horizon mode. And then I can just hammer the throttle. So if I fly behind a building and I lose video, flip the switch up, hammer the throttle, and the quad will jump up above the building. But also on this switch, I can pull all the way down. So this switch for me is horizon mode all the way up, and then acro and acro. Acro on both of these. What changes between the middle and the downward switch position is black box, if the ESC has it. All the way down is black box on, in the middle is black box off. But the other thing that changes is the OSD profile. So also launch control. Launch control is in the middle position, and it's off in the downward position. No, it's the other way around. Whatever. The other thing that changes on this switch is all the way up, full OSD on, OSD profile number 1. In the middle, OSD profile number 2. All the way down, OSD profile number 3. And now if we look at my OSD profiles, you'll see that I have it set up so that, oh, okay, well, on this rig, I'm actually not using it. I'll show you exactly how to use it. So by default, I guess it goes all the way across all 3. But in order to do this, all you got to do is turn every... God damn it. Hold on. This shit's a little buggy sometimes. All you got to do is turn elements 1 and 2 on for all of these that you want in those top 2 switch positions. So for me, That's all of these. You can go deeper down the rabbit hole, and you can decide that when horizon mode is on, or whatever that up switch position is, you get half these things, all of these things, none of these things. Here is the magic. Your warnings, you're going to turn on all 3. So when I pull that switch all the way down and it activates OSD profile 3, all I have are warnings, right? Nothing else is turned on here. And the warnings are typically off, right? Typically, you do not have a warning flashing at you the entire time you're flying. If you do, for the love of God, fix that shit. Either turn the warning off that's flashing or fix the thing that the warning is warning you about. So, yeah, you're going to need to do that in order for this to work. You're going to need to not have warnings constantly flashing. I've flown people's rigs, and there's like 2 different warnings flashing all the time. And they're like, oh, yeah, just ignore it. I'm like, how do you, don't, fix it. Just, it's probably something easy. God forbid it's something that's not easy. Turn that warning off. Don't have it constantly flashing. So, now, that's what you need to do in the OSD screen. Now you need to tell the switch, you need to tell Betaflight to look for the switch to let you make that adjustment. Before I go there, though, technically the easy way of doing this, the easy way of having a clean OSD on a switch position is to come into modes, and there is OSD disable. And so the super easy way to do it is just to set OSD disable for me to aux2. And this is how I did it for a long time. Set OSD disable aux2 and then put the switch position all the way down. So now when I move the aux2 switch all the way down, it completely turns off the OSD. The problem with that is it also turns off your warnings. And so when you're flying with the OSD off, you're going to over discharge your battery and you're going to ruin a bunch of batteries. So here's a much better way of doing it instead of that. But that's the easy button. Right below modes is adjustments. In adjustments, it's very straightforward. You're going to enable it with this switch. You're going to pick whichever aux channel you want to use. For me, it's aux2, but you can do it wherever you want. For me, aux1 is the arming channel. aux2 is the above the throttle channel. aux3 is turtle mode and beeper. So, yeah, for me, it's aux2. The range you want to open all the way up. There are 3 OSD options. So you've got 1 all the way on the left, you've got 1 in the middle, and you've got 1 all the way on the right. You can't really adjust that. If there were 5 OSD positions, I guess it would evenly space them. 900, 1200, 1500, 1800, 2100. But there's not. There's 3 OSD positions. So you've got 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And so you got to open this range all the way up in order to have all 3. Then apply. So, I mean, this is just an if-then, right? If enabled, we've enabled it. When channel, aux2, is in the range, we've set the range. Then apply OSD profile selection right here. It used to be all the way at the bottom. I guess they realized how awesome it is and they moved it up top. There's all kinds of wacky shit you can do in here. Some of it doesn't work when it's armed. Like changing your PID profile. There is a way to change. Oh, did they take it out? There used to be a way to change your PID profile in here, but you can't do it while it's armed. Looks like they might have taken it out. You can change your rate profile in here, which is pretty cool, and you can do that while you're in the air. If you really want to dive into rates, and play around with, there it is, rate profile selection. That is really, really, really cool, being able to change your rates on the fly. But that's not what we're doing here. We are going to OSD profile selection, and then via channel, you're going to set that to the same channel that this is on. So enable it, aux, whatever, open up the range all the way, OSD profile selection via channel, same as the aux channel that you've selected here, and then save it. And that is it, my friends. That is how you have your OSD selectable on a switch, but still maintain warnings so that when your battery is getting low, you get that low battery warning. I guess the caveat would need to be, in order for you to get that low battery warning, you need to have your minimum and warning cell voltages set properly. This is a 5-inch rig, so my minimum cell voltage is 3.3 and the warning is 3.5. On a Cinewhoop, you're going to run these a little bit lower. You're probably going to run this one at 3.3 and then this one down at like 3.1 or 3.0 or even 2.9 because the Cinewhoop batteries sag so bad. But yeah, you're going to set that individually there. And then this right here, will this flash the... Yeah, this... Do they have a tooltip? They do not have a tooltip in here. I believe this is what controls when your battery capacity starts flashing. No, they broke that out. There's a separate adjustment for that. I'm going to set it anyway. There's a separate adjustment for that in here, isn't there? Yeah, there it is. There's the capacity alarm. So yeah, that no longer controls that. I think that this didn't used to be here, and it would need the capacity to be set in that battery tab. That was the battery tab that I was in a second ago, by the way. Power and battery. Right in here. Cool. That's all my OSD tips for. That's way more than 10 tips, but we're going to keep going. We're going to go over a couple more things. Let me dive into the chat super quick. Mudderton says, it's different starting in BetaFlight 4.3, I think. It's just a bit mask instead of every warning separately. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to keep going. A couple more tips for you in Betaflight. Is there anything in configuration? Yeah, if your ESC beeper is not working, it's because these guys are turned off. Make sure these are turned on in order for your ESC beeper to work. And then you can change the tone. As the number goes higher, the pitch goes higher. I find that 1 is the loudest and most easy to hear, but if you don't like the beeper tone, you can change it to make it higher pitched. That's really it in here. There's really nothing in the configuration tab that's magical. In the failsafe tab, I change my... why is this set so low? Man, this guard time is set really, really low. This is the amount of time that in seconds, so this is set to 0.4 of a second right now, and I'm actually going to change that to 2 seconds. When the quad loses signal from from the control link, this is how long it will wait before it does this failsafe procedure here. Either drop or land or GPS rescue. Do not use land, it is dangerous. Either use drop or GPS rescue. Having that guard time set at half a second, you can make an argument that that's the right time and that it's unsafe to raise that like I just have. I'll make a hell of a good argument for it being safer to raise it, which is that if you're paying attention and building cleanly and you've got a rig that is somewhat reliable, much more often having that guard time be longer is going to allow you to regain the connection and not hit something or someone versus it just dropping out of the air on top of a bunch of people. If you're a super sketchy pilot or your gear is like jacked up and you're getting failsafes all the time, for the love of God, do not change that. I had somebody that was hell-bent on raising that number that was working with me through Fiverr because he was getting like failsafes all the time. And I'm like, dude, you need to fix the actual problem. You cannot have a rig that is fail-safing all the time. Setting the guard time to 10 seconds is not the solution. You cannot have a 5-inch quad that for 10 seconds at a time is just cruising along at whatever the last stick position that it had. So yeah, keep that in mind. Raising that value means that that thing is just whatever was happening when it went into failsafe. If you were full throttle rocketing towards someone's face and it goes into failsafe, it's going to stay full throttle for 2 full seconds. So yeah, you can't be super sketchy if you're going to raise that number. Fair warning. But I could make that same argument for even people that are kind of sketchy. It's less about how sketchy you fly and more about how you build. If you build super shitty and your stuff is falling out of the air all the time, don't change that guard time, for the love of God. Unless you know that you're going to be flying over the ocean or people or something like that, then maybe bump it up a little bit. Don't bump it up a lot though. So yeah, careful with that. Careful with the failsafe stuff. The default setting is very, I don't know if I want to call it. Yeah, it's very safe. The default setting is totally fine. Presets I really don't use. I'm not going to dive into presets. In the PID tuning tab, the main secret is the motor output limit. So here's a good one. This quad is at 65% motor output limit. What the hell? Why? This is a quad that is on 2400 kV motors that I run on 6S. And this is one of the quads that I use for work. Like, this is a full-blown cinematic rig. At the time that I did that, I was putting... I had both 6S and 4S batteries. Now, I think all the 4S batteries are gone. So I can probably switch this thing to 1950 kV motors and run that at 100%. But I've never really needed to. I did a ton of testing, 2400s versus not 1950, 1850s, and I just didn't see any additional runtime in running the correct kV of motor at 100% motor limit. This rig someday, if I forget my batteries and I'm on a set and somebody has a bunch of 4S batteries, I'm good to go. It's got 2400 kV motors on it. I go into the OSD, I bring that motor output limit all the way up to 100%, and I can fly for the day. Even better than that, and this is for sure a secret that, like, I don't know anybody that really... I've talked about it a bunch, but I've never heard anybody else talk about this. So in the power and battery tab, right? We've got a maximum cell voltage number here that comes at 4.3. When you plug a battery in to your quad, it looks at the voltage, it looks at the minimum and the maximum, and it knows if the battery is 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, 5S, or 6S. So every time you plug a battery in, believe it or not, your quad knows how many, I mean, to some extent, if you've drastically over or undercharged the battery, that could be thrown off. But if you're putting a fresh battery on, that's not the case. So as long as you have your minimum and maximum cell voltages set, when you plug a quad in, it knows what cell, how many cells the battery is. Where the hell is the setting? There's a setting in here for, there used to be a setting for this. Oh, here it is. So down under miscellaneous settings, where'd it go? Cell count for auto profile switching. This tells you exactly what it's going to do. I have it disabled, but I'm actually going to do it. Oh, wait, no. So this profile, PID profile 1, all right, where's it at? It's up top here. PID profile 1, I have now set to only activate and to automatically profile switch when I plug in a 6S battery. What I can now do, and I'm going to do it, is copy this profile, and I'm going to copy it over to profile 2. Why are these... Oh, I'm not using the... wow. I'm using... I've just typed numbers in. I'm not using sliders on this rig. That's interesting. So I now have PID profile 2 set up exactly the same. Now on PID profile 2, I'm going to go down here to motor output limit, and I'm going to do it at 100%. And I'm going to take this cell count, and I'm going to put it to 4S. And now, if I plug a 4S battery in, it'll automatically put the motor output limit at 100%. If I plug a 6S battery in, it'll automatically go over to PID profile 1 that has the motor output limit at 65%. You can take it way further than that. You can, on your 6S profile here, you can turn the PIDs down a little bit. On the 4S profile, you can crank the PIDs up. You can change any of this stuff in the PID profile on 1 versus 2 to adjust for when you have a 4S battery plugged in or when you have a 6S battery plugged in. I mean, if you did a good job building the rig and you have a tune that's not totally overly aggressive, you should be able to use the same tune between each of them. But technically speaking, 6S does deliver energy a little bit quicker, so you might want to pull your 6S PIDs down a little bit. I don't run the PID tunes so aggressive that I really need that. But yeah, motor output limiting in tandem with the cell count for auto profile switching is really, really nice. I mean, it's not game changing. You can just do the stick command, go into the OSD and change the motor limiting up and down. But if you've got a rig that you're commonly going to bounce back and forth between voltages, do that. It'll save you from forgetting and taking it off and being like, why the hell? What? This is flying so weird. Or it oscillating to the moon because it's on a 100% motor limit on a voltage that's too high. Brunswick Bean says, I run 4X packs on my 6S ultralight long range, and I have the PIDs jacked up for that PID profile. It is nice. Yeah, it's really, really cool. That is a really slick little kind of thing you can use. And like I said, you can, most of these, it'll switch back and forth. Rates, I already gave you a little secret with the throttle mid and the throttle expo, and I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit. Wow, yeah, I haven't flown this rig in a while. This is still on my old rates. Old center sensitivity, it's a little bit too low. No super secrets in here. No real big secrets in here as well. Receiver tab. What were the we talked about? I was going to cover CLI. There is a little bit of a secret in the modes tab, which is launch control. It's just fun. When you enable launch control, when you arm the quad, it'll pop a little warning message up giving you the angle of pitch that you're currently at. You can push forward on the pitch stick and the rig will, and it'll hold itself at that pitch. And you can pitch it all the way up to like 90 degrees. Eventually it'll flip over. But yeah, launch control is something that like blows people's minds when I turn on. I'm like, it's just in the modes tab. Just turn it on. It's fun. So yeah, that's kind of a cool one. Adjustments we already talked about. Servos we don't use. Motors. There is a cool secret in here. I understand the risks. I don't have a battery plugged in, so we're fine. If you've got this, and then there's some, like, keep your finger on the end button below home next to page up and page down on your keyboard. If you hit the... Whoa! That's creepy. Why? I think I remember this. Oh, that is dumb. Why did they do that? The end button, you would think, ends the test, but it doesn't. The end button goes to full throttle. The home button goes to 0. That's no good. That's a really weird change. Oh my god, what the fuck? It looks... Okay, so delete... Alright, so here, I'm gonna hit the buttons, and I'm gonna tell you what they're doing. I understand the risks. I'm just going to turn it up just as an example. I'm going to hit delete. Ready? Delete. Turns everything off, and it turns this off. Ready? Turn it back up. End maxes them out. That's scary. Home turns them down, but it leaves this on. Page up increases by 100. Page up, page up, page up, page up. Page down, page down, page down, page down. I don't have to hover my mouse to do that. I can have my mouse anywhere to do that. All right? And then I don't think function does anything. Nah, function doesn't do anything. Up and down arrow. Go up and down by just 1. What do left and right do? Ooh, left arrow shuts everything off. That's cool. What's right arrow do? Right arrow shuts everything off too. That's cool. Up and down, I'm hitting the up arrow and nothing's happening. But watch this. If I hover my mouse over here, I guess you can't just hover it. You have to click. Whatever the most recent one is that you've clicked, now up and down go by single individual values. So if I click this one, up and down will... So like when you click these, you can't really see it, but it does kind of highlight it. What if I page up? Okay, yeah, page up and page down go up by 100 at a time on the one that you've clicked. What about if I don't click any? Okay, page up and down work in the same way as arrow up and down. I'm hitting page up and down. I haven't clicked one of these to highlight it, so it's not doing anything. If I click this, now page up and down goes up by 100 at a time. It's actually really nice. The up and down arrow is really, really nice to try to find like weird harmonic vibrations that are going on. Super, super slick little trick there. I absolutely hate that end makes it go up full throttle. That's really scary, especially because end used to do the opposite. End used to drop these all the way down, and now home does that. That's creepy. So yeah, there's a couple of tips in the motors tab. CMYK says spacebar ends. Ooh, that's awesome. So if you have it up, okay, spacebar turns it all off. I wonder if, hold on. Let's see if okay, the whole keyboard turns everything off. I'm just like smashing the middle of the keyboard. Yeah, Control, Option, Command, oh yeah, Shift, Enter. Okay, so the whole left side of the keyboard, 1 button, 2 button, yeah man. The whole left side of the keyboard, even caps lock, deactivates this. So if something weird happens, just smack the keyboard. Hopefully you don't smack end, because that's going to make the situation way worse. Everything but end is going to shut the thing down. Kevin Sumner says, I wish that page up and down and home end didn't jump but ramped instead. That would be cool. Jumping the value can make the quad jump with a rapid acceleration of the motors, especially if working on one motor. Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Even I learned something here. We don't even use this anymore. We're all on HD. Black box. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. CLI, I think the last thing I'm going to give you is crash prevention in the CLI. It's just something that, like, nobody really talks about. Super handy on tiny whoops. I don't know about using this on bigger than... yeah, paint the end button red, Safe Zone says, for real. Yeah, I don't know if this makes sense to use on anything other than tiny whoops. Maybe it does. I might play around with it in the future. Here's what you do. You type get crash. Typing get crash will give you... It's just easy to remember that. It's going to give you every single thing in the CLI that has the word crash in it. The ones that we care about are crash flip. And so we've got crash flip motor percent. I don't actually know what that means. I'm sorry, it's not crash flip that we care about. It's not crash flip. It's crash recovery that we care about. So we've got crash recovery angle, and then we've got crash recovery rate, and then we've got just the crash recovery itself, which this is a 5-inch rig, so it's set to off. If you want to turn crash recovery on, you take this crash recovery equals off. Easiest thing to do is copy it into the clipboard. And then down, let me make sure you guys can see this next to my head. Down here, you're going to type set space paste, which is going to paste that crash underscore recovery equals off. And then instead of off, you're going to set it to on. Hit enter, and then type save, and it's going to save that change that you've made in the CLI. Crash recovery works pretty well right out of the box. Sometimes you do need to kind of dial it in a little bit, and that's where the rest of these are going to kind of come in. Unfortunately, I haven't set crash recovery in so long that I kind of forget what these do. But what's really cool is if you go to Google and you type in Betaflight crash recovery, let's just try it like that really quick. Yeah, so this is obviously going to get you some good info, but what I'm looking for is the link to Betaflight's brilliant GitHub. So let's do this instead. Let's search for Betaflight, and then we're going to paste crash underscore recovery, and let's search for that. Damn. Hey, here. Nope. That's a pull request. Damn. I was hoping that would work. Let's try with that whole line. Crash recovery equals off. Nope. Damn it. All right. I'm going to drop this link into the chat. All right. So this is the Betaflight wiki. Grab this real quick. I believe they have a little section talking about it. So let's go up to the search and, oh, for Christ's sakes, nope. Crash recovery. Hey, here we go. So here's a nice little section in the Betaflight wiki talking specifically about crash recovery. Crashes detect. All right, so here we go. So yeah, it's going to start to break down each one of these things. A crash is detected if the crash underscore D threshold and crash underscore G threshold, D as in D gain, G as in G forces, are exceeded. Once a crash is detected, the craft tries to level itself, ignoring the RC input, that's your input, on the roll and pitch axes. It does that by turning on the accelerometer as if you flipped it up into horizon mode instantaneously, right? This happens like in like 1/4000th or 1/8000th of a second. So this is infinitely faster than you'll ever be able to do. Crash continues to try to level itself until either the crash underscore time in milliseconds after the crash or the craft angle is less than the crash. Oh, that's interesting. Crash recovery angle degrees on both the roll and the pitch axis. The crash gyro rate is less than the crash recovery rate degrees per second on roll and pitch axes. For testing purposes, crash recovery can be enabled by turning the beeper on. This will be removed. That's kind of cool. So the beeper, it'll give you a beeper hit if you have a physical beeper every time crash recovery is enabled. Crash recovery routine does not currently attempt to limit yaw spin. That's a whole different conversation, which I have not really dove into a lot. I do not anticipate yaw spin to the moon problem. I wrote it. Okay. Interesting. This is actually in the 3.2 release notes, I just noticed, but I don't think... there's a bunch of stuff. I didn't know about this. This is a good read here. So here comes the link in the chat. For anybody watching this after the fact, you saw what I did. Well, go to betaflight.com. Here. Go here. Go to Betaflight. Stop it! Ah! Go to betaflight.com/docs/wiki. If you go there, all right, it's going to bring you to the main Betaflight wiki. Then go in the top right corner and search for crash recovery. And then it'll bring you to these release notes where you can read through all of this. So that's how you set it. I do not have it set. All right, let's plug in a Cinewhoop, because on the Cinewhoops, I have set these values. So you can kind of copy my values if you want. I would recommend that you spend a little bit of time reading through that and dialing these values in for yourself, because you might crash harder or not as hard as me. So we're going to come in here, type get crash. All right, so on my Cinewhoops, here's what I have done. Crash D threshold, a value of 80. The default value is 50. What I found is that I could get the crash prevention to trigger on really hard stick inputs. So I raised this crash D threshold up from 50 to 60. It still did it. 60 to 70. It still did it. 70 to 80. It stopped doing it. Crash G threshold, it was activating when I was hitting stuff like kind of soft and it didn't need to activate. The default value is 400. I assume that's 4G. I moved it up to 5G. It was still doing it. I moved it up to 6G. It stopped doing it. I could maybe even raise this a little bit nowadays, because it still does activate every once in a while when I bash it into a gate. So that's how you set that. If crash prevention is activating too often, these are the two that you want to raise: the D threshold, D gain, the G threshold, G force. Crash set point threshold. I don't know what this is. I have raised it though. I probably just, when I was raising the other ones, I probably just raised this one. The default is 350. I have it set at 500. I don't know if that's a good value. I'm just going to leave it alone. Crash prevention activates whenever I want it to, and it really doesn't activate when I don't want it to at this point. So my values that I've put in here are working for me. Crash recovery angle, I think this is set to default. Crash recovery rate, this is an interesting one. This is how hard and how quick it pushes when you trigger crash recovery. The default value is 100. I found that to be a little bit slow. I wanted it to react a little bit faster, so I moved it up to 200. It looks like the max range is 255, so I'm really pushing the limits on that. If you set it to 255, it's basically going to be full stick. At 200, that's damn near full stick, so that's going to recover really quickly. Crash limit yaw, I haven't changed. Here's where I have crash recovery turned on, right? The default value is off. And OSD warn, crash flip. That's interesting. The OSD warning is set to on, but I've never seen it actually give me the warning. So maybe this doesn't work. I don't know. But yeah, that's how I have my crash recovery set up. I would definitely encourage you to read through the GitHub notes in Betaflight, because as with all the notes on the wiki notes on Betaflight, they're just awesome. And there's so many little gems in there, loads of them that even I don't know. 661 says crash flip motor percent is turtle mode percent. What's it set at? You're going to want to have that set at 100, unless for some reason you're blowing up ESCs in turtle mode, but I have never once had that issue. I don't understand why so many people have that issue. The only thing I can think of is people are just just sitting on turtle mode full stick for a long time. Get crash flip motor percent is set to 0, so that's probably the same as 100. Okay, cool. So yeah, don't change that. Leave that at the default. Demo FPV says, another question, do you use turtle mode on a Cinewhoop? Absolutely. I'm thinking no. This is my first Cinelog, so just wondering. Oh yeah, turtle mode on everything. Think of it this way. Without turtle mode, if you flip upside down somewhere that you can't get to the quad, you're going home empty-handed. So yeah, turtle mode on absolutely everything, unquestionably. It's almost like a safety thing, right? Like, yeah, it should be on everything for sure. I think that's all I got for you. Did I promise you? I at the beginning of the stream I said I'm going to give you tips in the CLI. I'm going to give you tips in the OSD. I'm going to give you tips. Did I miss any? I don't remember what I said. I was kind of doing it off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of Betaflight tips that will help you. AJ Farris says, see if there's a crash recovery option in the OSD menu. That right there. Great idea. They use the word warning, so I've assumed that it would be a warning, but let's take a look. Good idea. So we're going to check two spots. We're going to check on the left, and we're going to check on the right. First, we're going to check on the right here. And look at that. Well, so crash flip mode, this is turtle mode. It'll give you, it'll tell you when you've entered turtle mode. But there is no other crash OSD option in here. The other place we can check is in the list here. And yeah, there's none in here either. So yeah, one would think it would put it in the warnings, but I don't know, maybe it doesn't work. It would actually kind of be nice. You know what you could do? You could turn on... Isn't there like a visual beeper? I gotta get this quad unplugged. I think there's a way to turn on a visual beeper, which will, in your warnings, it'll display all like asterisks when you turn on a beeper. So you could probably run those two things in tandem to do that. RainsQuadFPV says, can you go over custom font and custom logo? I can't because I've never done either one. I've never been able to get either one of those to work. I've never really tried all that hard. So yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's a, I'll bet you there's a YouTube video about that. Custom OSD logo Betaflight. Yeah, there you go. T-Max got you covered. From 3 years ago, not bad. Yeah, so there you go. Cool. Looks like Snappy FPVs got you as well. Custom OSD splash screen logo. Cool. Wow, look at that. That's what I got for you, friends. Looks like CMYK just posted an Oscar Liang article as well. There it is. Get your logo on top of Betaflight. That's actually kind of cool. I might do that. I won't. But I might. You never know what I'll do. I won't. I also learned today, I learned it 2 days ago, but there are a lot of different versions of RunCam Nano 3s. On the next live stream, we might kind of dive into this a little bit deeper. Shout out to 661 for collecting and paying attention to and taking pictures of all of his RunCam Nanos. These are all RunCam Nano 3s. These three on the left, he's marked with orange to designate them being the old ones. And then off on the right here are new ones. So these three old ones are the same chip layout. This chip layout is different, and it has no holes in the corners. This one is different, and then this one is the same as this one. I have a RunCam Nano 3 here, the first one of mine that I looked at. It has a different chip layout than there are 3 different chip layouts here. Mine is different than any of these. So there are at least 4 completely different chip layouts on RunCam Nano 3s. 661 also said, and I collect the stickers off the back. This guy has broken a bunch of RunCam Nano 3s. He put up another picture where you can see it. There's like another 4 or 5 of these stickers on the back. And then he also took pictures of the same thing from the old and the new. This is the new RunCam Nano 3. This is the old RunCam Nano 3. So not only is the chip layout different, but they have slightly different exposure algorithms. The old one is super blown out. Exposure and brightness settings too high. New one looks a lot better. A little bit more dull of an image, but I'll take a dull image with actual detail in the highlights versus a blown out image any day of the week. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Thank you for that, 661. I did not know that. I did not realize that there were any different versions of the RunCam Nano 3. On Friday, maybe I will pull all of my RunCam Nano 3s out, and we'll look at the chip layouts on the back to see which ones I've got. And then I would love to plug them all into the same flight controller and see if any of them are blown out like your old ones are versus, better exposed like the newer ones. So that's something that we'll do next time. But for tonight, I'll let you guys go and move on to other things. I've taken up plenty of your time. Thanks again for the super chats, my friends. Thanks for being just awesome, as always. And CiottiFPV.com is a spot that you can support me through all the crazy shit that happens when you're trying to do FPV as a living, which is just nuts. 661 says, no, I've never seen any different boxes. CMYK says, great stream, dude. Thanks. Did I give you at least 10 tips to make you a better pilot? Each one of those OSD things was a specific tip. Come on. There were at least 10 tips in there alone. I was getting as clickbaity as I possibly could with the title. We'll see if it works. It always works. The best description of clickbait that I've ever heard is that it is outrageously effective. AJ Farrer with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, homie. Morton Upshot says, great content tonight. Your OSD segment should be a standalone video. Maybe. I would need to do it a little bit cleaner. I was super rambly, but thanks for hanging, guys. Be good. I'll see you Friday at whatever time we stream on Friday. 7 o'clock! It's right down there. Bye-bye! I'm not ready. At the beginning of the video, you got to see a glide with a massive battery. It was a 6S 2500 mAh battery at 945 grams. Here's the exact same rig with my normal batteries, which are 6S 1050s at 600 grams. So feel free to rewind back to the beginning to see the difference in flight characteristics that 345 grams makes. It's pretty wild to watch these back to back. Be good, people. I love every single one of you a little bit more than the one right next to you. That's woodsy. Let's go with it. Be good, friends. I love you. Bye-bye. Here's some 5-inch flying from a bunch of years ago when I used to be good. At Freestyle, that is. I'm still good, just I'm good at different things. Bye-bye!